My phone buzzed on the kitchen counter. A message from my son Daniel. My heart jumped the way it always did when I saw his name. Maybe he was calling to confirm Christmas dinner. Maybe he wanted to drop by this weekend like he used to. Before we proceed, thank you for watching Mama's Voice. Please subscribe and tell us where you are watching from in the comment section. I opened the message. Mom, don't come over for Christmas. Lisa doesn't want you here anymore. Please respect our decision. I read it 3 times. 4 times. The words didn't change. My own son was telling me to stay away from their home. On Christmas, I sat down slowly. My hands were shaking. But then something else happened. Something unexpected. Smiled. Because Daniel and Lisa had forgotten one very important detail. That house they lived in, the one they called theirs, the one Lisa was now banning me from, belonged to me. Every single brick. Every wall. Every door she was trying to close in my face. I picked up my phone and typed a response. 5 simple words that would change everything. You have 30 days notice. Press send. Then I waited. Exactly 47 minutes later, I heard tires screaming into my driveway. Car door slammed. Footsteps pounded up my walkway. My doorbell rang over and over like someone was leaning on it. Took my time. I fixed my hair in the mirror. I smoothed down my sweater. I let him ring that bell 6 more times. When I finally opened the door, Daniel's face was red. His eyes were wild. He looked terrified. Mom, what are you talking about? 30 days notice. You can't just kick us out. Can't I? Kept my voice calm. Sweet even. That's our home. We've lived there for 6 years. Have you though? I stepped aside to let him in. Or have you been living in my house? The house I bought. The house that's still in my name. The house I've been paying the mortgage on while you played pretend. Daniel stood in my living room looking lost. Like a little boy again. But he wasn't a little boy anymore. He was 36 years old. And he had just told his mother she wasn't welcome in her own property. You can't do this. His voice cracked. Already did. The eviction notice is legal. I checked with my lawyer. 30 days starting yesterday. I watched my son crumble. Watched him realize that the home he thought was his, the life he thought was secure, was built on sand. And the tide was coming in. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me tell you how we got here. Let me tell you about the 6 years that led to this moment. Because this didn't start with a text message. It started much earlier. With small things. Tiny cuts that bled so slowly I didn't notice until I was drowning. 6 years ago Daniel got married. I liked Lisa at first. She was pretty, successful, confident. She worked in marketing and had big plans. Daniel was so happy. He glowed when he talked about her. When they got engaged I wanted to help. I had worked hard my whole life. 2 jobs sometimes. 3 when times were tough. I came to this country with nothing and built everything myself. Save. Planned. I invested. So when Daniel said he wanted to buy a house, I made him an offer. Let me help with the down payment. Let me make this easier for you both. We found a beautiful house. 3 bedrooms. Big backyard. Good neighborhood. The down payment was $60,000. I paid every cent. But here's where I made my mistake. I put the house in my name. Just temporarily, I told them. Just until you build up your credit. Just until you get established. Then we'll transfer it. Daniel hugged me. Lisa cried happy tears. They called me the best mother-in-law in the world. I should have known it was too good to be true. The first year was perfect. They invited me for dinner every week. Lisa cooked my favorite meals. She asked about my life, my work, my friends. She called me Mom. She hugged me when I arrived and when I left. Daniel called me every Sunday morning. We'd talk for an hour. About everything. About nothing. The way we always had. Felt blessed. My son was happy. His wife was wonderful. I had done the right thing helping them. Then things started changing. So slowly I almost didn't notice. The Sunday calls became every other week. Then once a month. When I called Daniel, Lisa started answering his phone. He's in the shower. He's at the gym. He's working. I'll tell him you called. He never called back. The dinner invitations became less frequent. Once a week became twice a month. Twice a month became once a month. Then only on holidays. When I suggested visiting, there were always excuses. We're busy this weekend. The house is a mess. We have friends coming over. Maybe next time. I told myself it was normal. Young couples needed space. Lisa and Daniel were building their life together. I was being too needy. Too clingy. I needed to back off. So I did. I stopped calling as often. I stopped suggesting visits. I waited for them to reach out to me. They barely did. Last Thanksgiving I was invited for dinner. I was so excited. I hadn't seen them in 6 weeks. I made my special pumpkin pie. The one Daniel loved since he was 5 years old. I knocked on their door at 2 o'clock exactly. Not early. Not late. Perfect timing. Lisa opened the door. Her smile was tight. Forced. We're here. I confirmed 3 times this week, I said, laughing nervously. Brought pie. She took it from my hands without looking at it. Come in, I guess. The dinner was torture. Lisa made little comments all night. Little digs wrapped in jokes. Daniel never learned to clean up after himself. I guess some people just weren't raised to be tidy. Some mothers baby their sons too much. That's why they can't function as adults. Does anyone else think it's weird when people just drop by without calling first? Like they own the place. Each comment was delivered with a laugh. With a smile. But her eyes were cold. And Daniel, my son. The boy I raised alone after his father left us. The boy I worked myself to exhaustion for. He said nothing. He just sat there. Moving food around his plate. Looking uncomfortable. Not defending me. Not stopping her. Just letting it happen. I went home that night and cried. I cried like I hadn't cried in years. Not when my husband left. Not when I lost my job during the recession. Not even when I was diagnosed with cancer 5 years ago. This hurt worse. Because this was my son. And he was letting his wife treat me like garbage. I started noticing other things after that. When I did manage to reach Daniel on the phone, he sounded strange. Distant. Like he was reading from a script. How are you, Mom? That's good. Yeah, we're fine. Listen, I have to go. Every conversation felt rushed. Forced. Like he was checking a box. Calling Mom. Move on. I drove by their house one afternoon. I told myself I was just in the neighborhood. Just passing by. But really I wanted to see them. To understand what was happening. Through the window, I saw them laughing together. Daniel had his arm around Lisa. They looked happy. Relaxed. Like a normal couple having a normal day. Then Lisa saw my car. I watched her expression change. Watched her lean over and whisper something to Daniel. Watched his face go dark. By the time I parked and walked to the door, they were different people. Cold. Guarded. We weren't expecting you, Lisa said. She didn't invite me in. I just wanted to drop off some photos. Old pictures of Daniel I found while cleaning. You need to call before coming over. We have boundaries. Boundaries. The word hit me like a slap. Since when does a mother need permission to see her son? Since we became adults with our own lives. Lisa's voice was sharp. You can't just show up whenever you want. I looked at Daniel. Waiting for him to say something. Anything. But he just stood there. Looking at his feet. I left the photos on their doorstep and drove home. I didn't cry this time. I was too shocked. Too hurt. Too confused. What had I done wrong? How had I become the enemy? Months passed. The distance grew. I saw my son maybe once every 2 months. Always at their house. Never at mine. Always on their terms. Always with Lisa watching everything I said and did. I started to feel like a stranger in my own son's life. Like someone he tolerated out of obligation. Not someone he loved. Not someone he wanted around. Then came last month. Early December. Called to ask about Christmas. Lisa answered Daniel's phone. Again. We're doing our own thing this year. Just the 2 of us. It's important for our marriage. But it's Christmas. We always spend it together. Things change. She hung up. I sat there holding my phone, staring at it, feeling something inside me break. Something I didn't know could break anymore. I had survived so much in my 65 years. Poverty, abuse, cancer, coming to a new country with nothing, building a life from scratch. But this, my own son choosing someone else over me on Christmas, in a house I bought for him, this broke me. Cried that night, ugly crying. The kind where you can't breathe. The kind where you wonder why you're even alive. What was the point of all my hard work? All my sacrifices? All those years raising Daniel alone? If this was how it ended? With him pushing me away. With his wife treating me like trash. With me spending Christmas alone. I almost gave up. Almost accepted it. Almost decided to just fade away quietly. To stop trying. To stop hoping. To stop caring. But then yesterday happened. December 23rd. 2 days before Christmas. I was wrapping presents for Daniel. Yes, I had bought him gifts anyway. Even though he hadn't invited me. Even though he clearly didn't want me there. Because I'm his mother. And that's what mothers do. My phone buzzed. Text from Daniel. Mom, don't come over for Christmas. Lisa doesn't want you here anymore. Please respect our decision. I read it once. 3 times. My vision blurred. My hands shook. Lisa doesn't want you here. Not we decided. Not we need space. Well, Lisa doesn't want you. My son hadn't even pretended this was his choice. He was hiding behind his wife. Blaming her. Making her the bad guy so he didn't have to be. But he was choosing her over me. He was telling me I wasn't welcome. He was erasing me from his life. And suddenly something shifted inside me. The sadness vanished. The hurt transformed into something else. Something cold and clear and sharp. I looked around my living room. At the life I had built. At the success I had earned. At the strength I had developed over 65 years of surviving. I wasn't some helpless old woman. I wasn't someone who could be dismissed and discarded. I wasn't going to roll over and accept this. They wanted to ban me from their house. Fine. But it wasn't their house. It was mine. And it was time they remembered that. I picked up my phone and typed my response. You have 30 days notice. Eviction proceedings start today. The house is mine. You've been living there rent-free for 6 years. That ends now. My finger hovered over the send button for just a moment. Was I really going to do this? Was I really going to evict my own son? Yes, I was. 'Cause he had evicted me first. From his life. From his heart. From his home. Press send. Then I called my lawyer. Patricia Henderson had handled my will 2 years ago. She was tough. Smart. Innocence. Exactly what I needed. Patricia, I need to evict someone from my property. She was quiet for a moment. Then she said something that surprised me. Is this about your son? How did you know? Because you're not the first mother to call me about this. Come to my office tomorrow. Bring all your paperwork. We'll make sure everything is legal. That night I couldn't sleep. Kept checking my phone. Waiting for Daniel to respond. Waiting for him to call. Text. To react. Nothing. Maybe he thought I was bluffing. Maybe he didn't believe I would actually follow through. Maybe Lisa had convinced him I was just being dramatic. They were about to learn otherwise. The next morning I went to Patricia's office with everything. The deed to the house. The mortgage papers. Proof of every payment I had made. 6 years of payments. Over $150,000. My name on everything. Not Daniel's. Not Lisa's. Patricia reviewed the documents carefully. Then she looked up at me. This is solid. You have every legal right to evict them. The house is yours. They're essentially tenants who haven't paid rent for 6 years. How long will it take? With the holidays, probably 4 to 6 weeks for the full process. But the 30-day notice starts the clock. After that, if they refuse to leave, we can get a court order. Do it. File everything today. Helen. Patricia leaned forward. Are you sure about this? Once we start, it's hard to undo. Your relationship with your son might never recover. My relationship with my son is already broken. I'm just making it official. She nodded slowly. Then let's do this right. I left her office feeling strange, powerful, terrified, guilty, determined, all at once. Was I doing the right thing? Or was I destroying my family forever? I didn't know. But I knew I couldn't keep being treated this way. I couldn't keep accepting disrespect in exchange for scraps of my son's attention. Something had to change. And if Daniel wouldn't change it, I would. That afternoon, exactly 47 minutes after I sent the text, Daniel showed up at my door. His face was red. His hands were shaking. He looked panicked. When I let him in, he immediately started yelling. "Mom, what the hell are you doing? You can't evict us. That's our home." "Is it?" Kept my voice calm. "Because according to the deed, it's my home. Name. My mortgage. My property. We've lived there for 6 years. You can't just kick us out because of one text message." One text message. I felt anger rising in my chest. "Is that what you think this is about? One text?" Daniel stopped. Something in my voice made him pause. "This is about 6 years of being slowly erased from your life. This is about your wife treating me like garbage while you say nothing. This is about Sunday calls that stopped. Dinner invitations that disappeared. Being made to feel like a burden. Like an inconvenience. Like someone you tolerate instead of someone you love. Mom, I do love you. Then why did you send that text? Why didn't you stand up to Lisa even once? Just once. Tell me, Daniel. When did I become the enemy?" He opened his mouth, closed it, looked away. And there it was. The truth neither of us wanted to say. He couldn't stand up to Lisa. He was afraid of her. Afraid of her moods. Her anger. Her manipulation. He had chosen the easy path. And I had been the sacrifice. "I need you to leave now. Mom, please. We can talk about this. We can work something out. 30 days, Daniel. You have 30 days to find somewhere else to live. The eviction notice is official. Done." After he left, I sat on my couch shaking. What had I just done? I had started a war with my own son. I had crossed a line I could never uncross. But I also felt something else. Something I hadn't felt in years. Free. For 6 years I had walked on eggshells. Hoping Daniel would call. Hoping Lisa would be nice to me. Hoping I would be invited into their lives. Hoping for scraps of attention and affection. No more hoping. No more waiting. No more accepting crumbs and pretending I was full. I was taking my power back. And it felt terrifying and exhilarating all at once. The next morning Patricia called me. "The eviction notice has been filed with the court. It's official. They'll receive the paperwork by end of day." "Thank you, Patricia." "Helen." Pause. "Be prepared. This is going to get ugly. They're going to fight back. Especially your daughter-in-law. Let them fight. I'm not backing down. But because once we start this process, we can't stop halfway. You need to be strong. I've been strong my whole life. I can be strong a little longer." That afternoon my phone started ringing. Daniel. Lisa. Daniel again. Unknown numbers. Text messages flooded in. "Mom, please call me back. We need to talk. This is crazy. You're being unreasonable. How can you do this to your own son?" I didn't respond to any of them. I had said everything I needed to say. Now I needed to let the legal process work. But Lisa wasn't going to let it go that easily. 2 days later, Christmas Eve, I woke up to find my phone exploding with notifications. Messages from old friends. Distant relatives. People I hadn't talked to in years. What's going on? I saw Lisa's post. Is this true? Are you really evicting Daniel? My stomach dropped. I opened social media and found Lisa's post immediately. Had been shared hundreds of times. My mother-in-law is evicting us right before Christmas. After we opened our home to her. After we treated her like family. After we did everything we could to include her in our lives. She's making us homeless because of one disagreement. Please share this so people know what kind of person she really is. Some people should never be parents. The comments were brutal. What a monster. How could anyone do this to their own child? Poor Daniel and Lisa. They deserve better. This woman is evil. Some defended me. There has to be more to this story. You don't just evict family for no reason. What really happened? But most people believed Lisa's version. The poor young couple being abused by the cruel mother-in-law. It was an easy story to believe. My phone rang. Margaret, my neighbor and friend. Helen, I saw the post. Don't listen to any of that garbage. Those people don't know you. It's everywhere, Margaret. Everyone thinks I'm a monster. Let them think what they want. You know the truth. I know the truth. That's what matters. But it did matter. It hurt to see strangers calling me evil. Saying I should be ashamed. Saying I deserved to die alone. Even though I knew they didn't understand. Even though I knew Lisa was manipulating the story. Still hurt. That evening Daniel and Lisa showed up at my door together. Both of them this time. I almost didn't let them in. But I was curious. What could they possibly say now? Lisa pushed past me the moment I opened the door. Her face was red. Her eyes were blazing. How dare you? How dare you do this to us? On Christmas. You told me not to come to your home. I'm just respecting your boundaries. That gave you the right to make us homeless. To ruin our lives. To destroy Daniel's relationship with his mother. I destroyed it. I looked at Daniel. Really? That's what you're telling people? He had the decency to look ashamed. At least a little. Lisa pulled out her phone. I'm telling everyone the truth about you. About how vindictive and cruel you are. About how you manipulated Daniel his whole life. About how you used money to control him. Go ahead. Tell them whatever you want. Doesn't change the facts. You've been living in my house rent-free for 6 years. You've treated me terribly. And now you're facing consequences. We improved that house. Lisa's voice rose. We put money into it. We made it beautiful. And you think you can just take it back? You damaged my property actually. I had it inspected. Do you want to hear what they found? Their faces went pale. The walls you removed. The ones you knocked down to create that open-concept living space. Those were load-bearing walls. You removed them without permits. That's a building code violation. Major structural damage. We didn't know, Daniel said quietly. You should have asked. Should have gotten permits. Should have at least told me you were making major renovations to my property. But you didn't. Because you forgot it was my property. You started thinking of it as yours. Has been ours, Lisa snapped. We've lived there for 6 years. We've made it our home. That makes it ours. Well, doesn't. Legally you're tenants. Tenants who never paid rent. Tenants who damaged the property. Tenants who are now being evicted. We'll sue you. Lisa's voice turned cold. For emotional distress. For everything we've invested in that house. For ruining Christmas. With what money, Lisa? You quit your job, remember? And Daniel. I looked at my son. How much do you have saved? The silence was answer enough. 28 days left. I suggest you start packing. They left. The door slammed so hard my windows rattled. I sat down shaking. My heart was pounding. My hands were cold. Had I just made the biggest mistake of my life? Had I destroyed my relationship with my son forever? Would he ever forgive me? I didn't know. And right then, sitting alone on Christmas Eve, I felt more alone than I had ever felt in my life. But I also felt something else. Something harder and stronger. Felt sure. Sure that I had done the right thing. Sure that I couldn't keep being treated this way. Sure that sometimes love means letting go. Even when it breaks your heart. Christmas Day was the hardest day of my life. I spent it alone. No Daniel. No Lisa. No family. Just me and my thoughts and the crushing weight of what I had done. I made myself a small dinner. Opened a bottle of wine. Sat in front of the television and tried to pretend everything was fine. But it wasn't fine. Nothing was fine. My phone rang once. I grabbed it, hoping it was Daniel. But it was just a spam call. I went to bed at 8 o'clock. Just to make the day end. The next morning my doorbell rang early. Before 7. I stumbled to the door in my robe, expecting another confrontation. Instead, I found Margaret and her sister Carol on my porch. They were holding bags of food. "We brought you breakfast," Margaret said firmly. "You're not spending the day after Christmas alone." They pushed past me into my kitchen, started making coffee, unpacking bagels and fruit and pastries. "We heard what happened," Carol said. "Lisa's post. The eviction. All of it." I sat down heavily. "You must think I'm terrible." Carol turned to look at me. Her eyes were sharp, direct. "Think you're brave. I think you're protecting yourself from someone who is trying to destroy you. And I think more women should have the courage to do what you're doing." Those words, that simple validation, made me cry. Actually cry. I had been so sure I was doing the right thing. But hearing it from someone else, knowing someone believed in me, it meant everything. "Tell us the whole story," Margaret said gently. "From the beginning." So I did. I told them everything. The 6 years of slow erosion. The cancelled calls. The cold shoulders. Lisa's cruelty disguised as jokes. Daniel's silence. The building violations. The manipulation. All of it. By the time I finished, both women were furious. "That woman is abusive," Carol said flatly. "She isolated your son from you. Classic manipulation. Classic control." "And Daniel let it happen," Margaret added sadly. "'Cause he was being manipulated too," I said quietly. "He didn't see what was happening. Or maybe he did and didn't know how to stop it." "Either way," Carol said firmly, "you did the right thing. You set a boundary. You protected yourself. That's not cruelty. That's survival." Their support gave me strength. Reminded me I wasn't alone. Wasn't crazy. Wasn't a monster. I was just a woman who had finally said enough. Over the next week, things got worse before they got better. Lisa kept posting on social media. Kept painting me as the villain. Kept gathering sympathy from strangers who didn't know the full story. Some of my old friends reached out. Some to support me. Some to ask questions. Some to judge me. I lost a few friendships over it. People who believed Lisa's version without asking mine. People who thought I should just accept being treated poorly because family is family. But I also discovered who my real friends were. The ones who asked for my side. Who listened without judgment. Who stood by me even when it was uncomfortable. Patricia kept me updated on the legal proceedings. Everything was moving forward. The eviction was solid. Daniel and Lisa would have to leave. Unless they fought it in court. Which they did. 2 weeks after Christmas, I received notice that Lisa had hired a lawyer. They were contesting the eviction. Claiming they had tenant rights. Claiming they had invested money in the property. Claiming I had promised them the house. That last one was a lie. I had never promised them anything in writing. Never signed any agreement. It was all verbal. All informal. All based on trust. Trust they had broken. My lawyer Patricia wasn't worried. "They don't have a case. The house is in your name. They never paid rent. They damaged the property without permission. The judge will see right through this." But I was worried. Because court meant more time. More money. More conflict. It meant this wasn't going to end quietly. The court date was set for mid-January. I spent the weeks leading up to it preparing. Gathering documents. Organizing receipts. Proving everything I had claimed. Patricia also suggested something else. "I think you should hire a private investigator. Look into Lisa's background. Because people who manipulate like this, who isolate their partners from family, who damage property and then claim it as their own, they usually have a history. And if we can prove she has a pattern of this behavior, it strengthens your case." I hesitated. Felt invasive. Wrong somehow. But then I remembered Lisa's face when she threatened me. Her cold eyes. Her calculated cruelty. Do it. Find out who she really is. The investigator's name was Sharon. She was professional. Efficient. Within a week she had information. We met at a coffee shop. Sharon slid a folder across the table to me. "Your daughter-in-law has an interesting history." I opened the folder. Started reading. And felt my blood run cold. Lisa Morrison. That was her maiden name. She had worked for 3 different companies before meeting Daniel. She had been fired from 2 of them. The first firing was from a marketing firm. Reason: falsifying expense reports. Taking money from petty cash. The company hadn't prosecuted. Just terminated her quietly. The second firing was from a real estate company. Reason: forging client signatures on documents. Again, no prosecution. Just termination and a quiet exit. There was more. Lisa had significant debt. Credit cards maxed out. Personal loans. Payday loans. Over $70,000 in total. And there was something else. Search history from her computer that Sharon had accessed through legal means. Searches about property law. Tenant rights. Adverse possession. How long someone has to live in a property before they can claim ownership. I looked up at Sharon. She was trying to steal my house. Sharon nodded grimly. I think she saw your son as a way out of her debt. The house was the prize. And she was willing to do whatever it took to claim it. Does Daniel know any of this? Doubt it. People like Lisa are very good at hiding their pasts. Very good at reinventing themselves. I need to tell him. Sharon leaned back. That's your choice. But be prepared. He might not believe you. He might think you're making it up to turn him against her. Have to try. He's my son. He deserves to know the truth. That evening I called Daniel. He didn't answer. I left a voicemail. Daniel, I need to talk to you. Alone. Just you and me. It's important. Please. He didn't call back. I tried again the next day. And the next. Nothing. Finally I sent a text. I have information about Lisa you need to see. Please meet me. Just 30 minutes. That's all I'm asking. 3 hours later he responded. Fine. Coffee shop on Main Street. Tomorrow at 10. I arrived early. Ordered tea I didn't drink. Waited nervously. Daniel walked in looking tired. Worn down. He sat across from me without smiling. What's this about, Mom? More accusations. I slid the folder across the table. Just read it, please. He opened it reluctantly. Started reading. I watched his face change. Watched confusion become shock, become denial, become understanding. This can't be real. His voice was barely a whisper. It's all verified. Public records. Employment histories. Court documents for the debt. It's real, Daniel. Lisa told me she left those jobs because of toxic work environments. She said she was treated unfairly. She lied. And there's more. Look at the last pages. He flipped through. Found the search history about property law. She was researching how to claim ownership of my house. How to use tenant rights to take it from me. She's been planning this, Daniel. He closed the folder. Put his head in his hands. Feel so stupid. You're not stupid. You were manipulated by someone very skilled at manipulation. I let her turn me against you. My own mother. I let her isolate me. Control me. And I just went along with it because I thought that's what marriage was. Supporting your wife no matter what. Supporting, yes. Losing yourself, no. Those are different things. We sat in silence for a long moment. What do I do now? He asked quietly. That's up to you. But Daniel. I looked at him directly. You need to understand something. The eviction stands. Whether you stay with Lisa or not. Whether you believe me or not. I'm not backing down. No. He nodded slowly. And I don't blame you. I really don't. So what happens now? Now I go home and talk to my wife. Really talk to her. And I figure out if my marriage is worth saving. Or if it was built on lies from the start. He left. I sat there alone with my cold tea and hoped I had done the right thing. 3 days later Daniel called me. Can I come over? He arrived an hour later. His eyes were red. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. I confronted Lisa. About everything. Jobs. The debt. The property searches. What did she say? At first she denied it all. Said you made it up. Said you hired people to forge documents to turn me against her. But then I showed her the evidence. The real records. Things you couldn't have faked. She broke down. Admitted all of it. The firings. A debt. Plan. Felt sick. What plan exactly? She married me because I had stability. Because you had money and property. She thought if she could isolate me from you and live in that house long enough, she could claim tenant rights. Eventually claim ownership. She was playing a long game, Mom. 6-year long game. My God, Daniel. He looked at me with tears in his eyes. I'm so sorry. For everything. For letting her treat you badly. For pushing you away. For that text. For all of it. You tried to help us and she used you. Used us both. What are you going to do? I'm filing for divorce. I already talked to a lawyer. The marriage is over. I reached across and took his hand. I'm sorry, Daniel. I know this hurts. I'm more sorry that I let it get this far. That I chose her over you so many times. You're my mother. You raised me alone. You sacrificed everything for me. And I threw it all away for someone who was just using me. We sat together. Mother and son. Broken but together. I'll move out of the house next week, Daniel said. Find an apartment. Start over. You don't have to rush. The eviction still has time. Well, I want out. I can't stay there another day knowing what I know now. Knowing what she did. What she was planning. Bae. Take your time. Find somewhere good. Nye. He hesitated. Can I come to Sunday dinners again? Like we used to. Like that very much. The following week, Daniel moved out. He found a small apartment across town. It wasn't much, but it was his. Clean. Honest. Free from manipulation. Lisa fought the divorce. Tried to claim she deserved half of everything. But she had nothing. No shared assets. No shared accounts. Daniel had been smart enough to keep his finances separate after learning about her debt. She tried one last manipulation. Claimed she was pregnant. Daniel insisted on a test. She wasn't. The divorce went through in 4 months. Fast by divorce standards. The eviction also went through. The court sided with me completely. Lisa was ordered to vacate immediately. She had no case. No rights. No claim. She left screaming threats. Promising revenge. Swearing she would ruin both of us. But she was powerless now. And we both knew it. I sold the house 6 months later. The repairs from the unauthorized renovations cost $45,000. More than I expected. More than I wanted to spend. But even with that cost I still made a profit. Not as much as I would have if they hadn't damaged it. But enough. Enough to secure my retirement. Enough to take that trip to Italy I had been dreaming about. Enough to prove that standing up for myself had been worth it. Daniel and I rebuilt our relationship slowly. Sunday dinners became our tradition again. He came at 5 every week. We cooked together. Laugh. Remembered who we used to be before Lisa. He went to therapy. Worked through the manipulation. The guilt. The shame. He learned about narcissistic abuse. About how slowly it happens. How you don't even notice you're being controlled until you're completely isolated. I learned things too. I learned that setting boundaries isn't cruelty. That protecting yourself isn't selfishness. That love shouldn't require you to accept mistreatment. I learned that sometimes the kindest thing you can do is say no. Even when it hurts. Even when everyone judges you. Even when you're called a monster. A year passed. Then another. My life transformed in ways I never expected. With the money from the house sale, I finally took that trip to Italy. 3 weeks of art and food and wine and history. I sent Daniel postcards from Rome, from Florence, from a tiny village in Tuscany where I stayed in a villa and learned to make pasta from an old woman who reminded me of my own grandmother. When I came home, Margaret convinced me to join her book club. 8 women who met every Thursday night. We drank wine and talked about books and life and everything in between. I found myself surrounded by women like me. Strong women. Women who had survived divorces and cancer and difficult children and financial struggles. Women who refused to become invisible just because they were getting older. Daniel started dating again. Carefully this time. Slowly. He brought a woman named Rachel to meet me after 8 months. Rachel was a teacher. Kind. Direct. When she disagreed with Daniel about something, she said so clearly and respectfully. "Your mom is incredible," Rachel told Daniel over dinner at my house. "The strength it took to do what she did. To stand up for herself like that. That takes real courage. She's the strongest person I know," Daniel said. And the pride in his voice made my heart swell. I invested some of the money in my garden. I had always loved gardening but never had the time or resources to really pursue it. Now I built a greenhouse. Started growing orchids and rare roses and vegetables that I sold at the farmer's market every Saturday. It became a small business. Not enough to live on but enough to give me purpose. Community. Something to nurture and watch grow. People in the neighborhood started calling me the Orchid Lady. I taught workshops at the community center. Made new friends. Built a life that was rich and full and entirely mine. I learned that losing my son for a while didn't mean losing him forever. It meant giving him space to figure out who he was without someone controlling him. And when he came back as a stronger, wiser, more independent man. Meanwhile, Lisa's life spiraled. The bankruptcy destroyed her credit. She tried to start several online businesses but none succeeded. She moved back to her parents' house in another state. She got engaged to someone she met online but that relationship ended when her fiancé discovered her debt and her history. She kept moving from job to job, relationship to relationship, never able to maintain anything because her patterns always caught up with her. Daniel told me she still tried to contact him sometimes. Emails, text messages from blocked numbers, social media messages. Always the same theme. "Sorry. I made mistakes. Can we talk? I still love you. Please give me another chance." He never responded. He had learned his lesson. Learned that some people don't change. Some people just get better at hiding who they really are. 2 years after the eviction, Daniel and Rachel got engaged. She was nothing like Lisa. She encouraged Daniel's relationship with me. Invited me to family dinners. Asked my opinion on their wedding plans. At their engagement party, Rachel pulled me aside. "I want you to know something." Daniel told me everything about what happened with Lisa. About the house. The eviction. All of it. My stomach clenched. I waited for judgment. "And I want to thank you." Rachel's eyes were sincere. "Because if you hadn't been strong enough to do what you did, Daniel would still be trapped in that relationship. He wouldn't be the man I fell in love with. Oh, thank you. For saving your son. Even when it cost you everything." Cried. Happy tears this time. Tears of relief and joy and vindication. The wedding was beautiful. Daniel asked me to walk him down the aisle since I had been both mother and father to him. I wore a blue dress and cried through the entire ceremony. At the reception, Daniel gave a speech. He thanked Rachel for loving him. Thanked his friends for supporting him. And then he turned to me. "And I want to thank my mom. For never giving up on me. Even when I gave up on her. Even when I made terrible choices. Even when I pushed her away. She loved me enough to let me go. And loved me enough to welcome me back. Mom, everything I am, everything good in me comes from you. Thank you for being the strongest, bravest, most incredible woman I know." Everyone stood and applauded. I couldn't stop crying. That night, lying in bed, I thought about the journey. About that text message 2 years ago. About the choice I had made. About everything that had happened since. Had it been worth it? Absolutely. Would I do it again? Without hesitation. Because I had taught my son something crucial. I had taught him that love doesn't mean losing yourself. That supporting someone doesn't mean accepting abuse. That family doesn't give you the right to treat people badly. I had also taught myself something. That I was stronger than I thought. That I deserved respect. That protecting myself wasn't selfish. 3 years after the eviction, Rachel and Daniel had a baby. Little girl named Sophie. My first grandchild. When Daniel called to tell me Rachel was in labor, I drove to the hospital immediately. I was there when Sophie was born. Held her tiny body minutes after she entered the world. Daniel looked at me with tears in his eyes. "Will you teach her to be strong like you?" "I'll teach her that strength isn't about never falling down. It's about getting back up. Over and over. No matter what. Sophie is 2 now. She calls me Nana. She loves my garden. Loves the orchids. Loves helping me water the plants, even though she usually ends up watering herself more than the flowers. Daniel brings her over every Sunday. We cook together. Play together. Are together. As a family. The way it should have been all along. Sometimes I think about Lisa. Wonder where she is. What she's doing. If she ever thinks about what she lost. If she regrets her choices. But mostly I don't think about her at all. Because she doesn't deserve space in my mind anymore. She doesn't deserve my energy or my anger or my attention. She was a chapter in our lives. Painful one. A necessary one. But she's over now. And we've moved on to better chapters. Last month, I ran into an old friend I hadn't seen in years. She had heard about everything through the neighborhood gossip. The eviction. The divorce. The reconciliation. I can't believe you actually evicted your own son, she said. Her tone was judgmental. Disapproving. I looked at her calmly. I didn't evict my son. I evicted someone who was abusing me. Who was manipulating my son. Who was stealing from me. The fact that my son was living there too was unfortunate. But necessary. But family is family. You should have just accepted it. Kept the peace. And let myself be erased. Let myself be disrespected. Let someone steal from me. All to keep the peace. No thank you. My peace matters too. She walked away shaking her head. And I didn't care. Because I had learned something important. Not everyone will understand your choices. Not everyone will support you. Not everyone will see your side. And that's okay. You don't need everyone to understand. You just need to know in your heart that you did the right thing. Margaret is still my closest friend. She brings me casseroles when I'm sick. I bring her flowers from my garden. We sit on her porch drinking tea and talking about life. You saved yourself, she told me once. A lot of women wouldn't have had the courage. They would have just accepted being treated badly because that's what society teaches us. Be nice. Be accommodating. Don't make waves. But you made waves. Big ones. And look where it got you. Where did it get me, I asked. Free. You got yourself free. And she was right. I was free. Free from manipulation. Free from abuse. Free from settling for scraps when I deserved a feast. On my 68th birthday, Daniel and Rachel threw me a party in my garden. All my friends came. The book club ladies. Margaret and Carol. Neighbors. People from the farmer's market. My life was full of people who loved me. Respected me. Valued me. Daniel stood up to give a toast. He held Sophie in his arms. To my mom. The woman who taught me what real strength looks like. What real love looks like. What it means to stand up for yourself even when the whole world tells you to sit down. Mom, I'm sorry it took me so long to see what you were trying to teach me. But I see it now. And I promise to teach Sophie the same lessons. To be strong. To be brave. To never let anyone make her feel small. Everyone raised their glasses. I looked around at the life I had built. The garden I had created. The relationships I had nurtured. The peace I had found. This was victory. Not revenge. Not bitterness. Not holding grudges. Peace. Wholeness. A life lived on my own terms. Later that night, after everyone left, I sat in my garden watching the sunset. Sophie was asleep on my lap. Daniel and Rachel were cleaning up inside. I thought about that text message 3 years ago. The one that had started everything. The one that had broken my heart and changed my life. Don't come over for Christmas. Lisa doesn't want you here anymore. At the time, those words had destroyed me. Had made me feel worthless. Unwanted. Unloved. But now I saw them differently. They were a gift. Painful, brutal gift. But a gift nonetheless. Because they had forced me to choose. Forced me to decide who I was going to be. A woman who accepted mistreatment. Or a woman who demanded better. I had chosen better. And everything that came after, the pain, the conflict, the judgment, the loss, it had all been worth it. Because I had gotten myself back. I had reclaimed my dignity. My power. My voice. And I had shown my son what love really looks like. Not enabling. not accepting abuse, but setting boundaries, demanding respect, standing firm even when it hurts. Sophie stirred in my arms. Her tiny hand grabbed my finger. She opened her eyes and smiled at me. Hey Nana. Hi sweetheart. I love you Nana. I love you too baby. So much. Daniel came outside and sat beside me. He put his arm around my shoulders. Thank you Mom. For everything. For not giving up on me. For showing me what I deserved. For being strong when I was weak. You were never weak Daniel. You were human. And you learned. That's all any of us can do. We sat together watching the stars come out. 3 generations. Together. Oh. Peace. And I knew that every tear I had cried, every sleepless night, every moment of doubt had been worth it. Because this moment right here, this was everything. This was family. Real family. Built on respect and honesty and love. Not obligation. Not guilt. Not manipulation. But genuine unconditional love. So if you're reading this, if you're listening to my story, here's what I want you to know. Standing up for yourself isn't selfish. Setting boundaries isn't cruel. Demanding respect isn't asking too much. You teach people how to treat you. And if you accept mistreatment, that's what you'll get. But if you stand firm, if you demand better, if you protect yourself even when it's hard, you create space for real love to grow. Love that respects you. Love that values you. Love that sees you as a whole person, not just someone to use. It won't be easy. People will judge you. They'll call you cruel. They'll say you're destroying your family. They'll tell you to forgive and forget and keep the peace. But your peace matters too. Your dignity matters. Your well-being matters. So stand up. Set boundaries. Protect yourself. Even when it costs you everything. Because sometimes losing everything is the only way to find yourself. And when you find yourself, when you reclaim your power, when you build a life based on respect and dignity, you'll realize something important. You didn't lose anything that was real. You only lost what was fake. What was toxic. What was destroying you. And in its place, you gained something precious. Yourself. Your peace. Your freedom. That's worth more than anything. More than keeping the peace. More than avoiding conflict. More than being liked by everyone. It's worth everything. So be brave. Be strong. Stand up for yourself. You deserve it. You're worth it. Never forget that. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it gives you courage. Courage to stand up. Courage to set boundaries. Courage to demand the respect you deserve. 'Cause you do deserve it. Every single one of you. Never let anyone make you forget that.